Caddo Lake is a 25,400-acre lake ground in Bow on the border between Texas and Louisiana. For our rural farm, 1,500 acres of the lake ground will be reserved for the farm and the families that occupy it. 300 acres will be used for other growing methods and cattle locations. Each family of 4 will have 2 acres of their own to grow, live, and sustain a life there, meaning there will only be 600 families living on the farm at once. The carrying capacity of the area would be 4,800 individuals. Once all 1,200 acres have been occupied, the area then we would not be able to accept anymore. To prevent migration from becoming excessive, we will accept only families of 4 until the 600 families mark to prevent overconsumption and the possibility of having less resources needed to sustain the population. Each family will receive their own materials and the same amount of resources needed to start from the beginning to ensure everyone has the same chance of succeeding as others. Possible natural disasters that could happen would be high and low lake levels, severe storms, storm waves, and storm surges, shoreline erosion, ice heaves, landslides, and rare large edge waves, usually associated with low pressure systems or cold fronts. Green spaces with trees, grass, etc. will not be harmed with the idea of infrastructure. We will prevent any deforestation due to habitat loss and other environmental issues. The ideal population count for the farm would be 4,800 individuals. Symbiotic relationships include black spots that are caused by larva fluke burrowing under skin as a parasite. The bullfrog uses the rock as a platform to rest, and the rock is not harmed whatsoever, which is commensalism. Abiotic factors include the amount of sunlight, temperature, oxygen. The climate is subtropical, characterized by hot, humid summers and mild winters, with an average summer temperatures of 81 degrees Fahrenheit and an average winter temperatures of 46 degrees Fahrenheit. Caddo Lake has fertile soil that enriches and helps the crops as well as the lake thrive in the various seasons, which contains all the nature nutrients for the plants as well as the other nutrients. Predators include alligators and raccoons. Southern red oak and post oak are common tree species. Common understory shrub species include wax myrtle, farkleberry, red buckeye, and flowering dogwood. The types of crops we will grow are rice grains, wheat, and corn. Rice straws increase the amount of organic material in the soil, improve moisture content, increase microbial activity in the soil, generate a low-level fertilizing effect due to composting, and generally just to make everything better. We will inhabit polyculture with the advantages being less erosion and land degradation, better utilization of soil, less water use, plants grow stronger and better. Legumes can be planted to fix nitrogen and fertilize plants without the use of chemicals, and it preserves biodiversity. Caddo Lake is known as the only natural lake with fresh water in Texas, which helps the crops receive the nutrients to thrive. Our harvest schedules consist of certain months where certain crops are to be harvested. Wheat takes 8 months to fully mature and will be grown in between October and December to be ready by spring or the early summer months. Rice will be grown 3 times a year to keep the amount consistent when harvesting to have an abundance. Rice will be grown every May, September, and January, giving the rice 4 to 5 months to fully grow. Corn will be seeded from April through June, and the harvest season would be early October to the end of November. On the farm, we will have an array of different animals as a food source and grazing animals. We will incorporate cows, pigs, and chickens that will be separated into separate sections from the 300-acre of the farm to avoid interruptions.
Thankfully, due to the abundance of fresh water from the lake next to us, we will be able to not only have fertile soil, but an opportunity to obtain water without a problem to water the crops and provide for the cattle and animals. We will manually irrigate the land and fields from the lake with no source of fossil fuels or
We do not have any pesticides available, so we will have row covers for every row of crops to prevent any pests. We will introduce the idea of growing organic crops, rotating vegetable crops after a harvesting regularly, spreading the plants out to avoid moisture buildup and fungal problems. To incorporate IPM, we will identify certain pests that may become an issue to the land and crops. Learn about pest biology, we will determine the pest travel patterns, and we will identify all our control. Options before acting to safely protect the land and crops, we will incorporate organic produce and crops prevent pesticides.
Since we won't have any inorganic commercial fertilizers available, we will not dig into the soil because turning the soil exposes and thus kills the organism within it. This initially increases fertility because the composition of these organisms provides nutrients, which is why till soil is so heavy with weeds. We will mulch the top of the soil of the land. Mulching protects the soil and organisms in it, traps moistures, and as well builds new layers full of nutrients rather than allowing the old ones to wash away. In the forest, organic debris just piles and piles atop the soil surface, both protecting and
On the farm, we will have an array of different animals as a food source and grazing animals. We will incorporate cows, pigs, and chickens that will be separated in separate sections of the farm to avoid interruptions. The cows will be in a section where grains and grass are grown. Pigs will be fed a selection of corn available and fish, and the chickens will eat grains and seeds that will be sustainable for them. We will have individuals feeding all the animals food and ensuring that every animal is able to be accommodated and taken care of. Every animal will have a designated schedule of eating to ensure the animals are getting the nutrients needed. Each animal will be fed every 3 hours, resulting in animals being fed up to 8 times a day to ensure their daily nutrient levels are met.
We will be using hydroelectric power as a renewable resource to power turbine and generator. Water released from the reservoir flows through a turbine, spinning in which activates a generator to produce electricity. Some hydroelectric power plants just use a small canal to channel the river water through a turbine. The benefits of hydropower include no pollution produced, domestic energy source, can provide flood control using the water for multiple uses. The disadvantages include the water can disrupt fish migrations and people and habitats can be displaced or destroyed.